I woke up this morning with what is basically a black eye. It has actually gone down, praise the Lord, but it was this big long line underneath my eye. It was red and puffy, and my first thought before I even opened my eyes was, "Oh, I just did not feel great." And I want to talk about this because oftentimes when we talk about food sensitivities or food reactions, or people ask me questions, there's a lot of confusion around it. And I understand why. It's because everyone is uniquely different in how they react and respond to foods. But there is so much we can do to support your body and heal your gut to no longer have those food reactions. So let's dive in. If you're new here, I'm Rita Johnson. I'm the owner of Divine Mercy Nutritional Care. Divine Mercy is a functional medicine nutrition practice where I deep dive into women's health, gut health, hormones, and everything in between. I absolutely love being able to walk alongside women for mind, body, soul health so that you can do what it is that the Lord has called you to in this world. All right, so today we are unpacking food sensitivities. And I really just want to start by talking about what are food sensitivities. Oftentimes, as we're embarking on this conversation, we think of things like, oh, the allergy panel I had done at my doctor's office. That is actually testing for true allergens. An allergy is a type of immune system response. So it's called an IgA response. And that shows us things that tend to have immediate reactions. So perhaps you eat something and you vomit every time you eat that specific food, or you go into a state of anaphylaxis. You have a hard time breathing, your airway starts to close, you need to have an EpiPen, you need to rush to the hospital afterwards. These are examples of allergens. Now, there are allergens where you're not having that immediate quick response. But in general, you know pretty quickly, I ingested this and this is how I feel. Obviously, it gets a little bit, the waters get a little murkier if you're eating a whole bunch of food and you're like, I don't know what it was that was in that was different. That can be really tricky to figure out what is your true allergen. And if it's an environmental allergy or something of that sort, doing the allergy panel could be really helpful to help you identify and narrow down what it is you're reacting to. What I want to talk about today is more of food sensitivities. So, sensitivities are different things that we could react to, but we're not having that IgA allergic response. Okay. So, these are things that if you ate them over and over again, you may have some chronic GI stuff, but it tends to be more of a low grade, just general malaise. So I like to think of these things as, our body's trying to communicate to us the way that it's reacting to them. But when we're eating them all the time, it can't. And because our body can't yell at us all the time, we're just going to have these, chronic states of inflammation. So this could look something like not sleeping well. This could look like achiness, stiffness in your joints. This could be things that you're noticing like on your skin, whether that's acne, for me, black eyes. It could be puffiness under your eyes. It could be, just that extra 10, 15 pounds that your body will not lose, or even more. It could be additional weight gain than that. It could be just a constant bloating. It could be constant headaches. The list goes on and on. Obviously, GI symptoms as well. And so when we're trying to identify what are your food sensitivities, we really need to look at all the different ways your body can respond to food. So we could always do something like taking the food out of our diet and then seeing as we reintroduce it if that is better. If the symptoms go away when we stop the food, and then as we reintroduce the food, if those symptoms or new symptoms start to flare, then that tells us that that is a food reaction. Just the other day, I actually had a client ask me, I don't want to take food out because then if I reintroduce it, then I might actually develop an allergy to it. And that's actually not what's happening here. What's happening in this case is that the food is being taken out and your body can start to reset. It can tell you, this is how I actually feel. So, for example, for me personally, I had a while where I was eating some things that did not sit well with me, and I was waking up with a chronic achy low back. And I would feel it throughout the day. I'd sit down on the ground to play with the baby, and I would just feel this stiffness come into my joints, particularly in my lower back. As I took out the offending food, that went away and my back started to feel a lot better. And then I went somewhere and I ate something that was cross contaminated and that came back. I'm being really careful here not to tell you specifically what those foods were that made me have that symptom, because that's not how this works. It's not like if I eat X, I'm going to get Y symptom. for a population of people, right? So for me personally, if I ate dairy, I will get bloated and oftentimes acne. And then I also get sores that are like canker sores on my tongue. That might be totally different for you. And so that's why I tend not to talk about this as this type of food causes this type of reaction. There are some correlation with certain diseases or certain states of diagnoses that, it is a good idea to try to eliminate a specific food when that is the case. For example, like when somebody tells me they have a thyroid issue, I'm going to wonder how gluten is really impacting their body, because that tends to be a high correlation that if we have a thyroid issue, that we also respond to gluten. So these are just some examples, but as we take the food out and then we reintroduce it and we have that more severe reaction, that is your body's actual reaction to that food. And that's something that's really important to know, because if we are just constantly eating it, constantly have this malaise, not feeling well, and then it goes away and we start to feel better and then we feel really bad, that's your body telling you that that's how severe I don't like that food. That's how much that is not a nourishing food to me. And it can be confusing because sometimes these foods that we're reacting to are foods that everyone else says are really good for you. Or in the case of if I'm trying to help a woman like increase her protein intake, and we discover that dairy is a problem, it can feel scary. Like, oh, I was getting a lot of my protein from dairy. Okay, well, first of all, that could be why, even though we're eating really clean, we're not losing weight. But it also can be something that we can walk through together and really support you through, because that can feel big and heavy and scary. So these are just some different ways that food reactions can cause different things in the body. But the big thing I want you to remember is that food reactions are very specific to your body. So for me, I talked about some symptoms that I experience when I'm having food reactions, but that's not the case for everybody. Other people are going to have really severe skin issues. They're going to have really bad brain fog. They're going to really have their sleep disrupted. It's going to be totally different from one person to the next. And so the best thing to do is to figure out what is my body, the ways my body communicates to me about foods that I don't tolerate well. And once we have that, and then we can also really identify with your diet ways that we can move forward, then we should be able to eventually identify those food sensitivities. And if we have a whole long list, we want to work on healing the gut so that you're then able to reintroduce those foods. Food sensitivities and eliminations should never be done long term. We really want you to be eating as widely as possible to support your beneficial microbiome, in addition to all areas of your health, to get that good vitamin mineral balance. If you're really struggling with what are my food sensitivities, how can I start to nail them down, we can run a food sensitivity test. That is something that can be done through a blood serum test that you would go to a LabCorp and then get those results sent out. But I always recommend doing a deep dive in gut healing, because oftentimes the problem is actually not in our food sensitivities, it's in our body's ability to absorb and break certain foods down. And so the more we can help support your GI health and your body's ability to break foods down, the more that you're going to be able to eat wisely and not have all of this discomfort from different foods. If you want to know what this looks like to work with me, I'd love for you to schedule a free discovery call with me. Let's chat about you and what you have going on and see if food sensitivities or some deep GI healing is what's needed in your health journey.